best question first, because we want to give everybody the ability to ask a question who wants to ask a question, so we don't want to park on one person asking 5 questions. So best question first, you get 1 question, then it moves on to somebody else. All right? We had a hand up right here, so they will bring the mic to you. Sam, if you would come this direction. And I will monitor this a bit, but go ahead.
Okay, thank you. It's on. Thanks, Mike. This is it's amazing. I have never heard anybody do the weave as well as President Trump. You do a good job on that.
We're a lot alike.
My question, a certain population, and you mentioned the country, in St. Cloud and other major cities, and I'm talking Somalia, they feel entitled to not assimilate into American culture. A lot of them are citizens. You can't do much. They've been here for 30 years. Do you have a thought on how to help them change their mind and assimilate? And will banning Sharif law help them assimilate?
Yes, there's a couple things there. You take the Somalians, and by the way, St. Cloud's got a different problem with them than others. Their schools and their driving is more magnified in St. Cloud than in the other cities. It's weird, but I've talked to people there. When you ban Sharia law, you do 3 things right out of the gate. Obviously, a lot of them are going to be arrested and deported. Okay, but there's 80% of them that since they came here, 80% of them that are still on one of these welfare programs. When I go through them and ding, 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 every one of them is going to have an end game. I'm sorry, you've been on there this long, unless there's a reason that I wouldn't know about. Nobody sits on a program for 20 years. This is insane. So you eliminate them, and then by banning Sharia law, now if you ban that, because you take away the ringing the bells in Minneapolis or off the buildings, and they're doing this and turning our Christian churches into mosques. By the way, this blessing of the fraud opened up Texas eyes. 100 Christian churches in the last 2.5 years turned into mosques. And they brought it all publicly now, because now it's okay to say ban Sharia law. You're not a racist anymore because of the fraud. You know, it's a blessing. But to answer, so you eliminate those 3 things, and now they're kind of trapped. If they can't get what they want with their break times, you tell businesses, no, you don't have to give them their breaks. They did this to Amazon next door to me. Bezos would always ship them out of Minneapolis, next to MyPillow in Shakopee. And one fateful day, all of a sudden they're protesting over there. And I don't care much for Jeff Bezos. Him and I have fought Amazon too, believe me, big time. And I've won on most of them that I brought to the president. We stopped all this stuff coming from China, stealing our entrepreneur stuff on these big platforms. But anyway, so one fateful day, they're protesting next to us. He had mostly Somalians working. They're all out in the parking lot. And here comes Ilhan Omar out from Minneapolis. Out of her, what are you doing here? She's out there and she's going, Sharia, or no, they need their breaks. They need to pray, blah, 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 and all this stuff. So now, here comes this little snot reporter from NBC, comes over to MyPillow, and I'm there watching this, and she comes up and she goes, Mr. Lindell, she goes, we know you don't care too much for Jeff Bezos. What do you think of what Congressman Omar's doing over there? And I said, let it be known for the first time and probably the only time ever, me and old Jeff are going to lock arms against that woman. Headlines, Mike Lindell, blah, blah, blah. But the answer, the last piece of that is kind of what I told you in my commercials. I have 6 Somalian friends at the Minneapolis airport. They're actually Christians. And I see them every time I go through there because I had to sell my plane a long time ago, so I have to fly commercial. But the last time I was there, the 6 of us were talking. It's downstairs, this one room, and they've said they've been trying to tell, they pull people, their group gets bigger to get to assimilate. But it started with one of them that became a Christian of that group, and he's got them now. It's like a group started. So God can be, with God, all things are possible. But you need some of their own saying, hey, this Islam, and one of the things I'm going to teach as governor is educating the people. All of it. Islam is this false religion, this government with Muhammad. You learn all these things, and then you're going, the Muslims are the one following this, but they're not even educated on this. This is what happened in Iran. You know, when Iran came in, when I was 1979, when I dropped out of college, when they took them hostage, I told my roommate, I'm out of here. The world's coming in. I'm going to go have fun. And so that's what I did. But at that time in the 80s, if you'd have went into Iran, you would have been with all the Muslims and stuff that were like that. It would be 80%. You could have never won a ground war. We just like Japan. They were kamikazes. You couldn't have beat Japan on the ground when the atomic bombs saved billions or millions alive, because they would have fought for something that they believed in, that had to tell some human to tell them, hey, it was the wrong idea. Sorry, big mistake, And so with Iran now, but when the internet came in the early 2000s, that next generation, they flipped, okay? They flipped and they started hearing about a better way. These are kids that were born in the 80s, and that all of a sudden now it's the 90s and early 2000s. They're going, wait a minute, why are we doing this? Why are we suppressed? Look at these people out there. And they see that. So now it's flipped. It's about 80-20. Okay, so now you have 80% of them people being suppressed that want the freedoms that we all have. It's not like it was 2 decades ago when it was the other way around. Now, when the president went in and got the guy in Venezuela, there was a lot of reasons for that, but that's where the election fraud started with Smartmatic. So when he took the guy out and left the rest in charge, everyone says, well, why did you do that? Because look what happened in Iraq when you did that. It was chaos. That developed ISIS. It was like a vacuum. But the problem with Iran is you can't do that there, because you take out this guy, this guy, this guy. If they're all Muslims and believe in Islam, it don't matter how deep you go. So what the whole purpose is to save those 80% of them people that we can't leave behind for the 15th time. So you got to see the big picture. And I'll tell you, people come up to me all the time, Mike, I prayed for this and this didn't happen. And I said, well, yeah, those are reactionary prayers. They might not be God's will. I used to do it all the time in jail. Please God. Well, anyway, I said, or God's timing. And I said, well, where is that? And I said, well, God's will is in the Word. And I said, stay in the Word every day. I do every day, my wife and I. And then you can be proactive in prayer, and they line up beautifully, and you can see stuff from a bigger. When I said God uses all things for good, that those who believe. When you see these things happen, and everybody's second guessing, I'm down at CPAC when they endorse me. They're going, the media's going, Mike, it's dividing the Republican Party. You got these people over here and these over here. I'm going, you know what? I said, you media are disgusting. I said, you see something he does, the world's going to come to an end. It's going to be the biggest stock crash, and we're all going to go homeless. And then 3 months later, you go, wow, that actually worked. Here's what he just did. Yeah. So you look back, and now maybe this one, people are going, well, look at the gas prices. Wait, did everyone get spoiled when he did it so fast the first time when he had to call Putin and the Arabs to raise the price of gas? Did you know that? He had to do that, or the world would have been a world collapse, because the barrel of oil was $18. So I mean, it's crazy. So there's stuff you don't see that you just got to give it to God and trust. And so anyway, those Somalians having hope, that's our hope for that. You get rid of all the ones that they have no reason to keep invading. You take away the way to keep invading. And just like you take away the illegals, there's no reason to come here when you start getting those employers that are the evil ones employing them. And then you solve that. You take these Somalians and you keep putting them on TV. Those are the ones I want to get on TV. And they're willing to come. And so when we're governor, we will shout out, hey, this Sharia law is bad for you guys. That'll be the advertising to ban Sharia law, so you don't have the media over here. Oh, I really like Somalians. You got Mayor Fry in Minneapolis eating Somalian food, gagging. Do you all see that? Oh, that's really good. Give me a break. I felt sorry for the creep. Okay.
All right, we're going to work the sections. Anybody over here have a question? Okay, back here, right, let's go to the middle right there, and then we'll come that direction.
Hi, state delegate here and an election judge. So I got a couple of questions for you. What about the new E15 gas coming, and you're going to lower license plate tabs again? What can we do about the watered down gas that's coming May 1st in the United States?
Well, when I'm governor, I hope to do all those things because I've lived it myself. Yeah, those tabs, that's crazy, just like our property taxes. You got to be able to. There's states like Florida. How did they go by with no income tax and stuff? Or Texas. They're getting the money from somewhere. Something's working. Well, those are the things I'm taking. You got to go and see what works. Say, because people say, well, I'm going to eliminate that. Okay, then what's going to fill that? I'll tell you where I'm going to get the most money, so all those are gone, is all the welfare programs. I'm not just talking. Remember, we had a surplus. Of course we had to have with all the money they're stealing from us, with all that money. So you take away the fraud, and all those programs need to be looked at. That's our biggest drain. So if you take that and you fix them and use private sector money, let the millionaires, billionaires, and people that have money or that want to help, even if they have 100,000 there, whatever it is, they help the people they want to help and they know it's good. Then we can get rid of all license tab fees. It's bizarre. Back when I was buying cars for $100, and now it'd be $100 license fee. I'm going, are you kidding me? Or you give it to your, I gave some, I think it was a boat to my dad. I'm going, what do you mean I'm giving it to him? What? You know, it's insane. It's nonsensical. We're going to bring common sense back. But one of the biggest things too is healthcare, and that's a whole nother conversation. I'm meeting with doctors and insurance companies now. This is what I'm doing in every sector you can name. Now, have I hit that one yet on all these bills? If you bring it up like they did up north in mining, I was on one of those little debates things for 3 minutes. They hit me with an embarrassing question. Mike, what are you going to do on mining law 603.2 of the penal code? I'm going, I'm sorry, I don't know anything about it, but I will look into it, and I guarantee I will come up with a common sense answer for you. And the people in the thing, everyone else on the board thing there gave those, politician answers. Oh, we're going to do this, this, and this, and if I'm elected. I'm going, the people came up to me after and said, that was an honest answer. If I don't know, I'm going to tell you, but I'm going to learn.
Good.
Yeah, that's good. Over that section, okay, we got one question over there.
Mike, thank you for coming out. My question is oriented into how in the world are we going to get you elected? And let me give you where I'm coming from. And I'm sure you probably know this, but Hennepin County in the 22, the DFL won 43.55%, Ramsey County 46.35. Those are big populous areas. Do you have a plan to pull in votes from those areas? Or
100%. And I'm going to tell you, this is what I was told you earlier. You would talk about all out of the cities. Okay, the cities are going to be my easiest one compared to the other candidates. But when you talk about, but my first thing is to bring hope for all of you, from Fairmont, Minnesota, up to the tip up there, all the way up to Two Harbors where I was, and across the one we did over by Moorhead. All around this state, there was 250,000 voters that voted for Donald Trump that didn't even bother to vote in 2022. Oh, what does it matter? What does it matter? What's the sense of voting? We've been blue since 1972. But it's different now. It's different now. I can spread the word of it's over. This is it. I am the only choice you have, and I will spread that over because I can win. I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't think I could win. I probably would anyway because I believe in 1 million, right? But this is not a 1 in a million. This is real. We can win because we have everything going for us. One of my best friends is the president. I've learned. I went around. Do I know about politics and little issues? No, but I know all politicians. I know bad ones, good ones. I've probably forgotten more about politics in the last 5 years than anybody would ever know for a guy that knew nothing about it. And I do know solutions. I've built one of the biggest companies ever, and I've had an attack more than any company in history, and I solved those problems. With God, all things are possible. And you have to spread the word through your churches, through your people. Get that app vocal. Get involved with our team, because the teams we built, we're not going to just wait till get the GOP or not, and then wait till August and try and raise money. 2 weeks that you vote, 45 days early in Minnesota. We got to go against Klobuchar and win now. We got to win now, and we're gonna. And the other thing, when you get down to the inner cities, that's my wheelhouse. I spend more time in Minneapolis, helping Minneapolis. All you do is, like I said, I'll get all my black friends down there that we talk every day. Armies of them. I mean, they all live down there. They've been pushed out by the Somalians, by the way. They're going to stand up. I'll be down there. They're all going to vote for me. I'm serious. I don't care what happened back then. This is a different time that we're in. They are fed up down there in Minneapolis. Those people you see on TV, most of them are brought in from other states. Do you see any black people on there? No. You don't. It's disgusting. They broke 100 car windows about 2 months ago. They're just here to commit crimes to keep, if the president would not have pulled out ICE, let me tell you this, those two tragedies, and I told him, I said, he goes, what do you think? I said, if you don't, you got to figure out a way to back out because they're going to they took every resource they had of evil and stuck them into Minneapolis, and you would have seen that on the news every day to win right after the election when they take it, and you would have never heard about the fraud again. That was their plan. So he pulls back, and the fraud now is it's not completely front and center, but we're going to make it that in this election. No. And so all those people downtown, imagine ads where I'm going to spend my money, the money I spend. People say, Mike, you don't get much sleep, but when I do, it's quality. Well, I'll tell you what. When we do those ads in Minneapolis, they're going to be ads you've never seen. They're going to, in history. They're going to come from the people of Minneapolis. They're the ones that are going to be talking. Live streamed on all these social media platforms. So people hear it. Not the ones that are brainwashed on your CNN or ABC or Esme Murphy's channel, you know. It ain't going to happen. I can get around the media. None of them other candidates can.
All right, right in the center here. I'm a little echoey.
Rick, I got my voice back.
Hi, Mike.
Tomorrow night might be tougher. No, I like that little energy bunny. Go ahead.
Hey, Mike. I have a question. Great. No, I just went blank. I apologize if I have trouble here. I've had some problems.
Yeah.
You want us to come back to you? Let you regather?
What are your thoughts on trying to get more business here back into Minnesota? Like, when we lost our Ford assembly plant, I was a Ford worker.
Yep.
And that brought a buttload of money into the state.
Right.
And revenue. And I would think that another plant of some sort here would really help everybody. And a good location, I would think, would be Duluth, because you have all the lake access and everything else.
Yep. Well, here's the plan. First of all, we have to win, or everyone's leaving anyway. Okay?
Yep.
We have to win. I'm serious. There's so many people leaving, and they've told me when they heard I was running, have people come up, I'm going to wait to see we win. I'm serious. I'm not bragging. This is what they said. Now, what you're talking about, when I say eliminate sales tax, that's just one thing. The one thing I know, remember, I got a friend. I'm bringing people back. The stuff we're going to do in Minnesota, they did a lot of this in South Dakota, okay? In South Dakota, now Kristi Noem was a good friend of mine. She did something that to be on, but she apologized for it, but we'll just let that go at that. So, South Dakota was going to be the first state's machine-free. She picked out the place for the cyber symposium in Sioux Falls, by the way, if you all know my cyber symposium I did. But anyway, but one thing Kristi Noem did is she stood her ground on certain things, but she did a huge advertising campaign for the good things of South Dakota that she had put in. If you remember all this, she'd have the Black Hills. Now, of course, she got in trouble with the money she spent on her campaign for the president, but the money she spent in South Dakota was probably the best spent money in marketing ever for a state. Do you all remember those ads? Yep. They came on all the time. I wanted to go to South Dakota. I've been there a million times. I'm going, South Dakota's here. I got to go back and look at Mount Rushmore one more time. You know, I mean, they were beautifully made ads, and they were good. And the South, they told about the freedoms and the stuff in South Dakota. When we got to get there, we got to stop the exodus of people. Then we bring them. The sales tax can do that immediately. That can not only help us internally, but bring things from the other states, because they're taking those things away too. They're all getting taxed too. Not like us. We need to go from worst to first, or 47th to first, right? Where we are with everything else. I mean, California, do you realize that California's had a personal law? Bill Maher the other day, this is the regulations too. We got to get rid of the regulations to bring back what you're talking. We're third in regulation. It's disgusting. When I went to move MyPillow's plant after we were attacked by a woke company, they wouldn't renew our lease, and they waited till like 4 months to sell it. And they said, no, we're not coming. Their building's empty. They didn't care. A woke company bought that. We didn't know it, and they wanted us out. So this just happened this year. We had 3 months to move. Impossible. And then I said, you know what, my employees, they said, well, no, we can do it. And I said, they went in there. When we lost a month, you know why? Because there's regulation people coming in, how high you can stack your racks. And I heard this, and you had to have these plans, and they had to come in, and we waited on them and waited on them. And you know what we did? I said, you know what? We can't wait. Go rent semis. We rented 120 semis and filled them up with product in parking lots so we could at least make sure we had them out of our building while we're waiting on regulation. Bill Maher went on TV in California about a month ago, arguing with a Democrat. You know, Bill's come a little bit to the middle. I like when my friend Kid Rock gave me one of my cutouts one time. He goes, here's a gift for you. You guys can watch that on YouTube. But anyway, Bill Maher said, he's arguing with this Democrat. He goes, what do you mean we're the worst regulated state? I said, it's disgusting. I bought a garage door the other day, and he's been waiting months. 4 different inspections he's had to have already for a garage door. So this isn't easy. You get rid of all our nonsense regulations here in Minnesota, and the businesses will come back. But you need to market that. We turn around. One thing, if I win, right away we got the biggest mouse. You got mine and the president. You're telling them the media will have to listen to me. You have to listen to me. We're going, Minnesota is the place to be. You know.
Yeah. Anybody over in this section? Okay, right up front here.
Mike, I am also have some addiction background. So we are similar there.
Right on.
Can you explain to me or the crowd here what you could do possibly to help the women out there that have had an abortion, maybe have so much guilt they don't think they can vote with our side, and they've been convinced by Satan that their sin is bigger than the sin you and I commit or have committed or are going to commit tomorrow? And is there a way, do you think, to help them to come in here because the water?
Well, absolutely. You got to get the churches involved. You got to get the churches involved, and you got to show them Jesus is the way. That also is marketing 101, you guys. This is what I'm bringing. You're going to have 2 things as me as governor. I know how to market. I got a friend that knows how to market, and I communicate. I'll be the most transparent governor in history. You think our president's transparent? You ain't seen nothing. I should say I'm second. No, you might watch this. But you're going to hear, hey, we've got problems with these gals, right? We got problems. And I will reach out to the churches in Minnesota. Hey, you guys, reach out in your own communities and help these people. Let them welcome them to your churches. Do what churches are supposed to do. You know, I told churches, and the pastor, we were talking about this, we were talking about the churches need to get engaged. Well, you go back to 21 and 22, and I sat there and I did speeches. I did with all these pastors at the Museum of the Bible from around the country, and then I did another one down in Louisiana. And I said, you know what? If any of you can't ministry to do your evangelize in the times we're in, remember this is 21, 22, then shame on you. You shouldn't be a pastor. I said, this is the time. People are reaching out. In Minnesota here, everybody's reaching out. You think those sickos that are down protesting, they have problems too. They need God. They need God. They're lost. I have people in my own family that are sitting over here, and that's me going, you've been brainwashed for decades over here, and here you are, and you're still sitting here. Why? Because every day the echo chamber from the media, that's what we're up against. Do you know in Brazil, when they stole my friend Bolsonaro's election, there's only one media outlet there that's even considered conservative, and of course, they just get shot full of holes. This is around the world. I just met with South Korea, and their elections are getting stalled. They're fighting to get, was like the Miriam and Jimmy trying to get rid of their voting machines over there. In fact, they've been calling every day. I said, I'm just busy this week. And and which I will get to them. And they want to send my teams over to South Korea. But But what we have here with the problems we have, I mean, all these people, they've been brainwashed. Just like, but look at Iran. Once they knew there was a better way, these people need hope. Just like all the people that agree with you, they need hope. You can't let anyone sit around anymore. There's no tomorrow. That's what I'm going to tell all over Minnesota. This is it. You either got two things. You can sit and pray, and you can pray and just pray. And you know what? If we don't win and everyone leaves, or if we're wrong and we can't secure our elections ever, I've told this to the president many times, if we don't secure our elections completely, like 132 other countries with paper ballots, hand counted, it's going to be over. If they steal this next election, then they steal the one, it's over. But you know what? It's a win-win. If I'm wrong, if we don't win, we all go to heaven as believers. So now is the time for you to get out and evangelize. Don't give up on an addict. Don't give up on someone here over there on the left that's been brainwashed. They're people too. They just have been misconstrued because they're inside they're all this stuff you see, the craziness you see now with the pierced noses and all this stuff that they show people in the 70s stuff. I feel sorry for them that people have destroyed these beautiful people and they're over here. They just want to be heard because they're missing something inside. They're missing God. They're missing Jesus.
There was a hand right there.
Thank you for coming, and I'm so glad that you're a friend of the president. But could you please, what I've heard is that May 17th is the day to put God back in our nation and bring our nation back to God. And I've also heard that they're planning to have 3 imams there. Could you please tell him that's a bad idea?
What are they planning on to have there?
3 imams to come into the prayer to rededicate.
Oh, really? Yeah, and see, here's the thing what he's up against too, just so you know. Like when I was there, this other prayer thing they did at the White House, and there was 4 or 5. I'm going, they shouldn't even be here. I'd sit there and I could name names, and you think even these are Christians, and they're not. They're demons. I'm telling you, I know this. But I can't put out their names and call them out where I'm at. You talk about being political, because you know what, and I've even told my wife this, that's hard. It's hard to prove that. So right away, you take away everything else. So if the president does what you're saying, it may discredit what he's trying to do, bring back God to this country and Christianity. Everyone says, is he a Christian? Yes, he is. I know he is. And I watched him. I watched his Christianity grow. When I talk to him, probably one of the few people he has that we talk about God, I can talk about God right to him. I remember one time, and I probably shouldn't say private comment, but I'm going to tell you this. My wife and I, he was showing my wife and him something in Mar-a-Lago, and it was, remember the 34-0 felony things? And it was right before that, and Kendra says, she says, sir, we need to pray for you that you're, they're innocent. And the president goes, no, okay, I got this, remember. I go, sir, that doesn't work. I would say to my, no, I got this one. We don't need to bother God, right? I go, that ain't gonna work. And then I said, but if we're gonna pray for that, we're gonna pray for 34-0 against him too. And the president, he got it. And she goes, no, we're not. I said, nobody will believe that. Evil is greedy. They're probably going to be stupid and go 34-0, which nobody would believe. So that was our prayer. So what did it come out? 34-0. Even on the left, they didn't even deliberate long enough to go through 34 charges. It was nonsensical. But if I'd have been their marketer, I would have made it 28 innocent, 6 guilty. I would have had to think, wait, did he really do something? You follow me? Yep. So it's all about marketing there, but so there's a reason, and for me to tell him that, I'm just being honest, I won't tell him that, because I don't sit there and tell him that, and then for one thing, we don't talk like that over the phone. I meet him in person. A lot of stuff on the phone is just friends talking, because they're always listening. Aren't you there, boys? Remember they took my phone, the FBI? Tim Cook, are you out there? That's the owner of Apple. They bring me in rooms where you got these little things, you slip them in the phones. I go, I don't care. They said, well, this is tonight, the question answered. Didn't I say, I got nothing to hide. There's only one truth, everybody. That's it. There's no in between. I said it a long time ago. I said where we're at night right now in this country, I said, you're either a hero or a traitor. There's nothing in between. There's nothing in between. You're either with the Lord or you're not. There's nothing in between. We got to get them there. And I understand your concern, but there's even bigger concerns in them, and some of them are real close, and they're not Christians. So for me to go to him and say, hey, this person bad. Now, I've done it with politicians, don't get me wrong. I think I talked about Brad Rassenberger as being one of the worst politicians or the worst traitors he tied with Robin Voss of Wisconsin, but there's a lot of them. But I understand, but I can't do that, Well, we just hope that God protects him and protects us.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Christy LaRoe, and I am a commissioner for Isani County. So you had mentioned something about getting rid of all the commissioners.
Oh, okay. We found one.
We do have,
I'll frame that better. All the ones in the cities. No.
Yeah. But we do have 4 conservative commissioners in Isani County, and we have been making a difference.
Right.
Before all of us ran, thank you. Before all of us ran, the commissioners that were in previously wanted to redistrict different areas so that some of them wouldn't have to run. And this lovely lady got a lawyer. And so all of them had to run. And we made a difference, didn't we? Right. So anyway.
And when I say that, I'm going to rephrase that. When I say reset the commission, I didn't mean get rid of them all. Check each one of them out.
Yes.
That's what I want to do.
Yes.
And then set the slate. There's good ones. There's some good Somalians, like I said.
Yes.
Oh, is that right?
But anyway, I wanted to.
It's different?
Yeah, that's what I was kind of figuring.
That's what I was talking about.
But I just kind of wanted to.
I didn't know you were one of them, but that's what he's been telling me. There's ones that I can get rid of right out of the gate that run all those.
Yes, please.
Those
But anyway, I wanted to ask you if it's a possibility to lower the formula on how they assess homes, because that's where our biggest problem lies. And I don't know the exact number, if it's 1.4 or if it's 0.01 or 0.04, I'm not quite sure, but the formula is the issue for the assessments in our county. And if that could get lowered, then the homes would, their assessments would go down lower and they would pay less taxes.
Right.
That's one thing. Yep. And then in our county, the first year we were in, we passed a zero-based budget, so it can be done. Right. And also, we did receive opioid money, and I believe it's at like $800 and some thousand. And we even had a committee, and they get together. They've gotten together for the last 2 years. They don't know what to do with the money. And we suggested to, hey, let's help the kids in our community. Right. So we offered money to the schools for scholarships for them to play sports. Mm-hmm. So things like that can make a big difference.
Right. And you know what? You know how that's by me, how I will solve that is communication. The commissioners I'm talking is what Rick has told me. They actually get eliminated the first day. I don't even think I have to do that. Is that correct? You start over with a fresh slate of the ones in St. Paul, running all these fraud things and running all these welfare programs. Now, like with you being commissioners and stuff in the cities, what I would do, I'm going to be going around. Like I say, it's communication. I'm going to have my own communication network like you've never seen in history. I want to know when you have something, you got a direct line. Our president, he takes calls. He's like me. Do you know 300 of my employees have my direct phone number? They will call me if there's a deviation or a block, good or bad. They will call me. But if this phone doesn't ring, I can have peace that everything is good, right? If I trust them to make that call. So now our communication, if I'm talking to you and you're up here and you got something that worked, well, what am I going to do? I'm going to let every other county know, hey, they got something that worked up here. That's how you build a state. You build it from everyone's a little bit independent, and you got bad people and good people, but you get something works over here. I don't care if there were bad people. Well, those are Democrat bad people that made that. But if it worked, let's copy the system. It doesn't, if they have the minds to do it, because remember, all the politicians are supposed to work for us, the people. And if they're doing something that works, everyone's going to know that you had something that worked. And they're going to say, hey, well, they gave their money here. Maybe guys over here going, well, we'll take our excess money and we'll put it over here. It would be up to the community and to vote. And those are great ideas. But that idea and that money might go unnoticed in the where we're in now, because I'm sure they're not talking about that in the state. Hey, we got something that solves something up here. You think they're going to tell the other ones they want to destroy us? This is a battle of evil and good. This isn't this is a biblical battle of historical proportions. We're up against evil, but evil is greedy. So we've just got to communicate, and communication is the key in marketing. You got something that works. As governor, I'm going to market that. Everyone in the state's going to know, hey, look at this. Look what's going on up here. Yep.
Since I have the mic. So I'm a school board member here, and I am very excited about your idea about modeling after Mississippi. If it's working in Mississippi, bring it here. We here in Minnesota, our financial education funding is the most complicated in the nation, and that has to change because it doesn't. It's just hard to track everything, and it's difficult for school districts across the state. So what other ideas do you have for education other than the Mississippi plan?
Well, they have a lot of stuff on there. Eliminated was that DEI that they eliminated right away. We've got a big problem here in our state for that. It's disgusting. The teachers I've talked to, we took out discipline. There's things you can, if they don't get their work done, you can't say you can't go to recess. Because you got to let them do it. You can't keep them after you can't do this. It's disgusting. So you have problem kids or slow kids holding the rest of the class back. You get into St. Cloud's, you get into your Minneapolis, you get into the suburb where they are that can't speak English or they're broken. That's even worse. And you can't do anything. You have to they go back to Bush's No Child Left Behind. That was disgusting. That disgusting thing. And one time I'm going, oh, that seems good. No, it was terrible. There's things that have been put in place, and we are the worst in Minnesota. And and you got, now will the teachers unions come after me? Probably. I don't care. I don't. Because you know who's going to be on my side is all the teachers and all of you. Because they're going to know about it. We have to communicate. We can't rely on the Minneapolis Star and Tribune and the ABC and NBC and your local channels. No, they're all by a big entity up here, the evil that's taking over our communication. When you want to take the people of a country, the first thing you do is cut off their communications. Look at North Korea. They get by with it. So Iran did it, and they got away with it until a decade started hearing about the dream. And that's it. So we will be communicating, and then the teachers, when they want to do this, if all the teachers say, hey, this is what's going on, here's the problem. You got Mississippi, yes, but over here, if there's some over the problems we have that they haven't solved, I'm going to let everybody know. Here's a common sense solution. Do you know that you want to hear this is back in the day? You know, Royce White's going through a lot of this in the news right now for disciplining his kid for smoking dope at 14. Well, my kid comes home one day. He comes home, he's like 11 years old. Comes home and he shot the neighbor kid with a dart gun in his eye or whatever. And I see it. And I go down there to spank him. He goes, "You can't spank me. My teacher told me I could sue you." I said, "Well, you tell your teacher we'll split the money." True story. True story. And give me a break. You know, this is what you're up against. You can't discipline. You can't even, you know, and this is statewide that I've talked to. The same problems can be in down south Minnesota all the way to northern Minnesota because the boards and the unions have controlled and they're afraid. A lot of the teachers are afraid. You know that. They're just petrified when they came to me and they, please don't mention my name, you know. Oh.
Anybody in the center section have a question? Way in the back.
Thanks. Mike, I've kind of been following you since you were the tip of the spear with the election fraud with the 2020 thing and everything. And it's been fascinating to watch you bring facts forward and also to watch how you've been censored along the way. Also, a point I'd like to make, I also struggled with addiction in my past. You mentioned something earlier I've never heard anyone else say, something that I share. is that I too once prayed a prayer on my knees with a tear in my eye that God would remove not only my addiction, but my desire altogether for the things that were killing me and killing the people I loved around me. And by his grace, he saved me from those addictions. That was about a dozen years ago. It didn't happen overnight for me like it did for you, but over about 5 years and under the sound of Bob Merritt's voice, I came to Christ and completely sober, and I swear I do not have any desire for any of those things that were killing me and the people around me. So that is a beautiful thing to hear.
Well, thank you. And I want to say what he just said. A lot of addicts, they say, you know, when they come clean and even ones that find the Lord like you did, they say, oh, think of all that wasted time. There is no wasted time if we got to you right here. Everything you did in your life, I look back and I've told the president, I said, sir, when we get way out here, everything that's happened to get you to where you're at right here, to where we're at, I wouldn't change where I'm at right now for anything, even though I've lost hundreds of millions, everything I've owned for money, I don't care, because I found the Lord and he's my Savior and I'm going to heaven. That's it.
Amen. It's like
So there's no wasted time.
he uses all of it for good.
Yes, amen.
Do you have a question?
Yes, I've got a couple of quick points. So leading off of that, being the tip of the spear with the election fraud, you had mentioned earlier that Amy Klobuchar, who would be your opponent,
Yes.
in 2018, 2019, she was allowed voice for
The biggest voice in the country, the movie Kill Chain.
for the movie Kill Chain. Thank you for
Yes.
saying it out loud.
Yep, she was in the movie Kill Chain. All the Democrats, but Amy was the loudest. She named the three machine companies, Hart, Dominion, and ES&S. By the way, ES&S is the biggest machine company in the United States. They're in Omaha, Nebraska, the good old boys. And they, right now, as we speak, they broke antitrust laws in the Obama era. They didn't get in trouble. They just sold part of their company to Dominion. I mean, I could tell you stories about these machine companies. Dominion, you asked me, and I'll get a little trivia. Where's my things? Well, this summer, Dominion sold to this guy. It's called Liberty Vote. Liberty Vote. Sounds good, right? Oh, the guy voted for Donald Trump. He's a good guy, and he's corrupt as all get out. You can't change the name of a company. And here's what he said. Went all over the news. Yes, part of the sale is we're going to drop our lawsuits against Mike Lindell, Sidney Powell, OAN, Rudy Giuliani. Lies. They dropped all theirs. They didn't drop them. They went to him like Rudy Giuliani and said, hey, we'll drop the lawsuit, but you can never, we're going to seal it. You don't give us any money, we'll seal it so nobody will know that it was sealed and that you might have had to sell for money. And you can never badmouth the voting machines again. They all did that, except for one, me. I said, that ain't dropping them. I said, I'll drop you. I said, you're dropping them? Then you go to the court, I'll say I dropped the charges. I said, we don't make a deal. That's no deal in dropping. I've done nothing wrong. You're guilty. You have to go. I will never stop fighting until you're out of our country. You know, this Liberty Vote rubbish. Now, Smartmatic, what did they do? The judge in Minneapolis ruled against me. He said, before I even go to trial, he goes, yeah, Mike defamed him, and now you got to go to trial 2 years from now. So what, they decide if I owe money and MyPillow is money? 1 week later, the whistleblowers come out, and all over the world, even in the media, probably not on Fox News, but everywhere else, Smartmatic guilty, the company guilty against stealing elections in other countries, and they're guilty. So now you think it's like my cousin Minnie, you found the real criminals, case dismissed. Remember that? Instead, you know what they do to me? I'm going, you're telling me I'm guilty for bad-mouthing the mafia? Yeah. And they're guilty. You know, and they're still sitting there in Minneapolis. You know what happened then 2 weeks ago? It's in the news. The judge in Washington, D.C., who was in on it, the judge, he sanctioned me $60,000 and he's fining me $500 a day because my case against them was frivolous. I shouldn't have even thought of charging him after they've already been guilty. So I'm sitting here, as we talk, I'm getting fined $500 a day every day I wake up because I won't pay this. I don't have the money to pay this $60,000 to a sanction for bringing a case against Smartmatic. It's disgusting.
Anybody over here have a question? Right back there, right behind you, Sam.
Steve Bannon.
Yes. What about him?
No, I'm just saying the word Steve Bannon.
You have a question?
What's the reply on that?
What's my reply? What's your question?
Steve Bannon.
That's a question?
That's a name. Could you just elaborate a bit?
There's nothing to elaborate.
Okay, let's move on. Any
Okay, well, I will
questions
see.
in the middle?
What you're either talking about him in the Epstein files trying to interview him. Is that what you're asking?
I guess what's your relationship with Steve Bannon?
I do a 1-minute ad for MyPillow every day on his show, and we need that. That's been asking people that don't like Bannon. Say, Mike, don't take your ad off of Steve Bannon. Don't go on there. He's this, or this. I said, if I took my ads, what I have left for my employees, I wouldn't be on any network. So I go on there every day to advertise MyPillow products, and it's by probably about 1/10 of our income. And I have to do it. So now I won't be there when someone else takes over because I'm all in for governor. We're getting someone else that can go do those reads. So whatever you think or don't think of Steve Bannon, I don't know what to tell you.
I think Steve Bannon's great. Your relationship
With my relationship, no, you didn't ask me that. So my relationship with is I can call him anytime. I can say, hey, I can ask or give him a thing. He'll give me advice. Some of it's not good. Some of it's good. I take it in. But my relationship right now is I advertise MyPillow once a day. Could I call him and he'd answer? Yeah. You know, but we have a good relationship, and I've stuck up for him because what he did in the Epstein files, by the way, that came out, he was going, oh, look he turned on Donald Trump. So what? Donald Trump fired him. We had a lot of people turn on Donald Trump. Big deal. Oh boy. So he bad, but now he's behind him. And then the other thing was he's seen with Epstein doing this documentary, and he said things. Steve's a journalist, and he's very good at what he does. So he's trying to befriend him to get the story that no one else in the world had. Now, is it slimy doing it that way? I don't know. Call it what you want, but it worked. He got it. But he got the documentary. I watched the whole thing. Now, does that mean Steve Blakely didn't know? But you see, not all journalists are like the ones you see that attack me and the president when we don't even do stuff. You know. So Steve's trying to get to him. He got his trust. You know. But Steve still got the word out how bad he was. You know, well, you're this, and this. So, but are we friends? Yeah, I would consider us friends, if that's the question. But I get attacked a lot for being on his show. I get attacked all the time, you know, for being on his show. And I'm going, you know what? You didn't attack me when I was on CNN. You know, you guys realize on CNN, I used to be on CNN as much as Fox News. Did you know that? MyPillow was everywhere before I got into this. Believe me, Democrats need good pillows too, right? And so I was on all these channels. Then the price of their ads went through the roof during the virus, right? I mean, before the virus. Then they dropped when the virus came and we all got put into lockdown. Their ads dropped down to nothing. Nobody was buying ads on TV except for one company, MyPillow. Now that's about when my book came out. And so here's Don Lemon, Anderson Cooper. They're all bad-mouthing the president every night, and there's disgusting stuff, and even the commercials there, just disgusting, attacking me. Cooper, look it up once what he's done. So I'm sitting there, and I go, you know what? Remember, this is in 2020, right before the virus, and I said, wow, and, no, we just went into lockdown, I think, or right before that. And I go, I'm going to buy some ads, see what they are on CNN. And I was going to buy them to put my book up there, right? So I go, this will be, maybe if they even let me do it, because they wouldn't let me buy ads in. Well, this lady, she didn't know what MyPillow was. And so she buys these ads, puts them in there, and I bought some during the day and some at night. And they all got preempted. So somebody's seen, hey, we're not running his ads on CNN. So they didn't take my money. So then I called her up and I said, yeah, those ads didn't run. She goes, they did. And she goes, yeah. I said, how are they preempted? No one's hardly buying ads. She goes, I don't know. I said, well, how about this? I'll pay you extra to lock in. If you lock in the times, it's extra. So I locked it in here right after this one of Anderson Cooper, right after this one of Don Lemon. She goes, oh, no, I won't charge you. I don't know how this happened. She goes, I'm not going to charge you. Now, once they're locked in, nobody can override them up above. Okay, so I didn't even have to pay extra to lock them in because of what it had done. So they get locked in, right? And here I'm at the White House, but I think it was after the Rose Garden speech. And I come back inside, and they're watching CNN. The president's always got CNN on there because he sees what they say, right? So anyway, so here's CNN and all these Secret Service, and there's 3 other guys standing there, and my ad comes on right after Don Lemon. Boom! The Praise the Lord. I know my book. What are the odds, right? And I'm up there, and if you've seen the ad, it's all about Jesus. And these guys look at me and they go, "Why would you give CNN money?" I'm going, "You guys don't get it, do you?" They no more said that, and the president comes around the corner. "Mike, I just need genius. We shoved Jesus right in their face of evil. It was beautiful. And I'm looking at those other guys, the president, and then I go,
Right in the middle.
We all know how the judges are working in this United States. How about Minnesota's judges?
well, there's 3 of them overturned. Probably the biggest thing that was $1 billion to 1. My case that my evidence was good. The 8th Circuit in Minneapolis. I went before them twice. The other time was my cell phone that was taken, and the government didn't have a reason. They go, "Why are you keeping that phone? Why don't you just back it up?" And then they said to those same judges, said, "Well, who's looking through the stuff of attorney-client privilege?" And they go, "We are." And he's going, "So let me get this right. You guys are looking and seeing his stuff and deciding what you're not going to look at?" You know, it was crazy. So, but what I'm saying is this. You need to pray for our judges. They're not all corrupt. Most of them are in fear. And let me give you an example. I'm going to give you this example because you all need to know this. One of the longest running cases in the United States was down in Jersey called Curling versus Crooked Brad Rassenberger, the secretary, one of the most evil, crooked people this world has ever seen. And the Democrats brought this up in Georgia in 2000, I believe 16 or maybe 18, somewhere in there. So it was Curling versus about the Dominion machines. Their brand down there is Dominion. Now this judge was Judge Totenberg. She was Obama appointed lady, okay? And so now the case just keeps dragging on. Then Republicans join the case, and then they say, "Well, we're not going to make a ruling on this, or we're not going to bring this to court. We're going to pause this because it's too close to the election." And it was 2020. Then we get in, and then a guy named Alex Halderman looked at the machines. I can't stand him either, but he is a cyber guy. And he looked in, and they hid his report with CISA and from the public. No, we all knew about the Halderman report. And I was around Louisiana, their attorney general. I was with secretaries of states, everyone trying to get this Halderman report. They kept being buried. Finally, in the summer of 22, Alex Halderman came forward and said, "Hey, people need to see my report. These machines are vulnerable." You know, they're vulnerable, right? So in the fall of 2023, in October, this Judge Totenberg, now be careful what you find, Judge, she goes, "We are going to move this case forward." By the way, Republicans and Democrats had joined this now. Just people had joined this, right, against Rassenberger. Now, the judge said, not only are we moving this forward, but if you question the electronic voting machines, you're not a conspiracy theorist. I went on TV and I said, "Make me some tinfoil hats," and I'm taking off my tinfoil hats and celebrating. Now, this goes to court in January of 24, okay? This judge, in front of the judge, that Halderman hacked into the machine with her ballpoint pen in 5 minutes and flipped the whole election in less than 5 minutes. And she stood up there. Now she goes, "What?" So they did it. They go get it again. They had another machine. He did it in 4 minutes, flipped the whole election. Now that poor judge, and I said, "Wow, she is trapped. Be careful what you wish for." She never thought that she would see anything like this, right? So she's in that courtroom, and I told the president, I said, "That lady," I said, "she's getting calls right now, just like judges do and everyone else. Hey, you're living with a pretty nice family. You read my book when the mafia came after me with football bets. It's in my book. It was spooky. I brought back memories going, I guarantee you," they called her. I said, "Sir, she's not going to make a ruling till after the 2024 election. She can't." Sure enough, I was right, but I was surprised at one thing. It goes past the 2024 election. and it gets into 25, March of 2025, a year ago, about a little over a year ago today, that judge threw the case out on standing. Now, you guys got to understand, in the history of the United States, no case going that far has ever been thrown out on standing. Who didn't have standing if it wasn't the people of the Democrats and Republicans of the state of Georgia? But she did it. She couldn't make a ruling even then because I guarantee she got a call. Judge, you're living with a pretty nice family. Let's just think about this. But they give them an out. The judges in the United States, they get outs that they say you don't have standing, and no one can contradict that. So it's an out for them. That's the way they did with every single election case brought before them by myself and others, except for the one I took all the way to the end. And where MyPillow was found innocent, and then also the $5 million challenge. So my thing to you is, we got to pray for our judges. We got to pray that they can be courageous. We got to show them hope and encouragement. So like these 8th Circuit, if I was governor, I'd say, hey, look at these judges. They made a decision. They didn't go away from standing. Do you understand? Standing's an out. Sanctions is even worse. I got sanctioned $35,000 for, in my case, getting sued for $2 billion in Michigan. A judge there ruled that I get sanctioned just for asking for a machine. $34,000 I had to pay. What do you mean I got to pay? It's asking for my evidence. Colorado shut down the whole state of evidence. They did the trust bill, deleted everything, put my friend Tina Peters in jail for 9 years. 9 years she's sitting there, a political prisoner. The president's tried everything he can. We've sat there. It's disgusting. The next thing would be going there with federal marshals and pull her out. She'd be a federal witness against all the corrupt politicians in Colorado. But the judges are in fear. If you know a judge, you just got to say, hey, only fear the Lord. You need to stand up. And that's where we're at. There's hope, though, for judges. There really is. One judge, I'll give you 2 areas of hope. Do you remember that judge in Florida? I think it was a lady that she made a decision one fateful day. She goes, masks are nonsense on airplanes. And I vote we get rid of them. Or she said, made a ruling. In 2 days, they were disappeared overnight over the whole world because of one brave judge in Florida. Do y'all remember that? Instantly, the masks were gone. In Argentina, in 2022, in August, one judge down there says, remember, all of South America got taken with the voting machines. 132 countries have banned them. This judge said, in August, we got to get rid of the voting machines. I'm voting them out. And they go, but Judge, we can't do it. The election's in 4 months. She goes, we don't have an election if we don't get rid of them. She had seen evidence. The evidence was there. She said, we have to get rid of them. This is a matter of national security. They did it, and they said, well, Judge, it's not going to be done. All these other people, these corrupt people telling her. She just did it. And you know what? They beat the Netherlands by 1 month. The Netherlands got rid of them in 5 months. Argentina got rid of them in 4 months and freed that country for the first time in history. That they were the 132nd country to ban electronic voting machines. So, but anyway, there's hope for judges.
Any other questions? You've had one. Let's go up there. No, it's all right. The mic's right there. Jump right on it.
Thank you, Mike, for being here. I want to keep myself on task, so I wrote it down. In addition to the recent fraud exposure, there are other systems that are committing fraud that haven't really been talked about. One example would be like the Minnesota Child Protection System. I'm glad you're nodding because a lot of people don't know about this. One example, one statistic, about 50% of kids who are put into foster care placement never return home. And I have a really hard time believing that 1 in 2 Minnesota families are incompetent to parent to that degree. Pretty much next to 0%, I don't have the stat on hand, next to 0% of them, the parents who don't get their kids back, are actually convicted of like child abuse or anything substantial. Right. So with that, what can you do as governor to support and strengthen natural families, as well as get oversight with these DHS systems at a practical level, where maybe replacing a commissioner is a start, but how do you actually make sure that all the way down to like the county level, these changes are being implemented?
Well, it's probably why Waltz put a thing out before he even knew I was running in September. A big ad said, are we going to let Mike Lindell and Donald Trump come into Minnesota and destroy our family values? That's what he said. I'm going, wait a minute here. Your family values are men and women's sports and tampons in men's bathrooms. I mean, no, what I'm going to do is just like I do with my company. You guys, at one time I had 2,000 employees, all 50 states, teams on the road. We had just like I used to do, show to show and town to town. We had 110 families, mother and fathers and families. They never went home. They had these beautiful routes. They loved it across the country. But there was the communication with my team, the leaders at the top, and then leading them all the way down. The people at the bottom here had my direct phone number. I will be the most accessible governor in history and the most vocal. So we're not going to leave. They asked me, Mike, what are you going to do on the first day? I said, well, the easy ones, ban Sharia law, get rid of the flag and bring back our flag and get rid of burn the statue of Satan at the Capitol. And then I said, but as far as things to do, I don't do just one thing of the fraud. I'm going to treat every single one like it's my only fraud. Just like MyPillow, treat every customer like your only customer, every employee like your only employee, every other business like your only business. And to do that, every single one you have to recognize and go and dive into it. When I get something in MyPillow, and you can ask Rick, see me now for as I work in that office. If I bring in and there's a problem, we don't wait and put it on a thing and like a corporation. Well, we all get around and talk about it. And 3 months down the road, we lost money in third quarter over here, and there was a little fraud over here, and blah blah blah. No, you dig into it right then and solve the problem. So there will be none of those left behind. I promise you that.
All right, last question, right in the middle.
Me again. What do you think about the SAVE Act if it don't get passed? Do you think Trump will do the executive order?
He will do everything. That's what we talk about all the time. If that doesn't get passed, it's going to be over. I'm telling you. That was a stepping stone. Him and I talked about, he's got, I would say, a backup plan. So just so you know. It will be executive order. Our elections are critical infrastructure. Obama put that in. Big mistake. He did it for other alternative reasons, right? But now it's going to be used against him. There's a backup plan, but we're still, plenty of time out in front of it. But I will tell you this, he knows that this is what we talked about for 4 years. He's out here saying paper ballots hand counted. I'm over here saying melt down the machines. We were saying the same thing. We gave him 2 fronts. And I talked to him in August. I brought him a stack this big back in February. It was 100 pages of the fraud that you could just hand to the DOJ. You all heard about Georgia. Okay, we had that 4 years ago. But now the word's getting out. So what I told him is I said, you need to get some of this stuff out from the DOJ. They were moving too slow. And then so you get all people that believe that our elections are not good. They're bad. And it said, get that out first and then put in what you can, like the Save America Act, right? Now, here's what happened. By him doing that, and the steps doing that, the Democrats want this passed of the people, 79%, you guys. He convinced the people this is the perfect example. And what is it showing us? These corrupt uniparty Republicans that are sitting there, get the filibuster, pass this. It's got to pass. This is a no-brainer in history. And if it doesn't pass, he knows everything could be in vain, you guys, everything. And he will do everything. It's his number one thing. All these other things are just bonuses.
But wasn't there talk maybe if he did the election, we could have postponed it till the spring, the following in?
You mean the real election?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if he can do that. See, he's got to do this without craziness going on, complete chaos. But believe me, he will get whatever he does. He does not do something. He doesn't do it. Like, for instance, when they talk about Iran and even the streets of Minneapolis, right? They're going, oh, Donald Trump's ruining it. He's ruining it. We're going to lose the midterms. All the Democrats are going to win because of what he's doing. Couldn't he have just been like tiptoed in and not done anything? That's what we've been doing for years and decades. That's why we're losing everything. So he does this in spite. Does he hope that Iran it manifests out to 3 months from now and go, wow, what's great? Gas is $3. You know, we don't know. But I will tell you this, that whether it's to delay it, and I'm sure every idea has been floated, and the president has a plan. Do I know that plan? No, I don't. I haven't met with them in quite a while. When I go to Washington in 2 weeks, I'm going to find out the backups. I have good ideas on some, but you remember, some things, like every time he does an executive order, what do you get? Here comes a judge. Let's tie it up in the courts. So by doing that, now you brought up a good thing. If they tie it up in courts, which they'll try and do, so if they do that, and now it's going to push to the election, that's their game they play. Now, could he declare a national emergency because the elections are critical infrastructure? He can do that right now today with the voting machines because they're made with foreign parts. With it being critical infrastructure, they can't be made with foreign parts. And everyone's going, but we don't have a backup plan. Yes, we do. I met with France, Germany, UK, the Netherlands. My teams have come up with 4 of the best hand counting plans in history. We've in 2 counties, well, there's been at least, I know in Missouri, Texas, 3 counties, and in California, beautiful California, they have the plan that one of my teammates used to be a Democrat, Clint Curtis, he came up with one there and they used it in the 2024 election. They're beautiful. So we have plugins in every state. My teams are ready. Here you go. Here you go. Rick said, Rick, you've been doing hand counting things all over the state wherever you went. But anyway, Rick, I just mentioned your name. I gave you a big compliment. Rewind the tape. No, but no. We have to. The number one things you have to secure your election. You guys, 4 or 5 years ago, I gave 2 warnings. I said, Minnesota has something that other states don't, and it's more evil than you could ever imagine, and that is the Muslim and the Islam and to taking over here. And I said, but I couldn't say stuff back then. I was called a racist. We got to ban this Sharia law. It doesn't match our Constitution. And I said, we have another thing. If we don't secure our elections, I said, this was 5 years ago, I said, we have something so powerful coming that man can't even wrap their hand around. That's artificial intelligence, AI. And I said, when that comes in, if you have people that are selected and not elected for the people regulating that, it will be over. This is so bizarre. We did a thing. I'm bringing an 800-page packet to the president that my teams put together. It's historical. Everything that happened in the 2020 election, and I'll be bringing that to him. And we did a thing in AI. We put it in AI and said, what would be read this. What would be the bullet points to get by the blockers, so to get this to the president, to like the bullet points of what you're going to talk about in this order. AI came back and said, I will not give you those points because the election of 2020 was not stolen. It's a conspiracy. This is AI telling this. They wouldn't even give me the answer. I go, this is a robot saying, I refuse to do that. It has been disproven, blah, blah, blah. Somebody wrote that in there. You overwrote AI. You know, we've seen the movies where the robots start going against you because someone that was selected and not elected.
Yeah. Mike, thank you for spending the evening with us.
Well, I could go all night.
Really good. And thank you all who came.
Thank you, guys. God bless you. And remember, vocal.com. Go to the App Store, put Mike Lindell, LindellTV.com. You need to get the truth. You need to get involved. And it's a social media that blows Facebook away. This is how we're going to be communicating with everybody in the state. And we have the team set up. We have the Cause of America on there like I did before. So I've already been down this road. We just have to duplicate that. So thank you.